I think there was an important meeting. There was a meeting where the Israeli negotiators turned around to the Palestinians and said one thing. If you say there's a two-state solution, do you recognize the Jewish nature of the state of Israel? And they said, well, call yourself what you like, that's nothing to do with us. You see, but it's fundamental. Because, yeah, we're talking about housing and not housing. I don't believe the settlement issue is the biggest issue. I really don't. Because we've done it. We withdrew 9,000 people from their homes in Gush Katif, in Gaza, and the situation got worse. On day one, by the way, Stogan, when we left from Gush Katif, do you know what was left? What Israel left?
Greenhouses.
The greenhouses and synagogues. Day one, the synagogues are burnt. Day two, the greenhouses are destroyed. Day three, the missiles come over the border. Day four, they fire at each other. And then there's an Iranian-style coup by Hamas. You'll excuse Israel for being a little bit cynical, but they say the difference between an optimist and a cynic is a cynic has slightly more information. So what I'm getting at is this. The issue is not the settlements. The issue is something much more fundamental, which was that question, do you recognize the Jewish nature of the state of Israel? Because the answer we got was no. If you don't recognize that, then there's a problem about negotiating from and withdrawing from the map. Why? Israel may have to compromise on land. But unless you recognize that the Palestinian refugee problem won't be solved in Israel, but will be solved in an independent Palestine, there's nothing to talk about. Because I would argue the essence of this problem is the gentleman who, go back, I got the wrong slide, is the essence of this problem are the Palestinian refugees. If you go to the refugee camps, you will see, you'll see a Palestinian flag. But you'll see something else, which is a key to the front door. Mythology has taken over Palestinian nationalism. What do I mean? We have mythology, by the way. Shh, don't tell anyone. Because you have to have mythology to create a state. What's Jewish mythology? There's loads of it. Best one. Who's been up Masada? Masada? You know, the mountain, 5 in the morning. Remember that? Bedroom tent, night before. 4:30. Right, 4:30. Like, hello? What's that about? Masada's one of the biggest myths. Go up there. First of all, I don't understand why people have to go up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Why don't you go at 9 o'clock at night and see the sun go down? 2, we killed each other. We committed suicide. That is not a heroic act. Masada shall never fall again. Let's go up. Let's get every Jewish person to feel proud by national suicide. Hello. We have mythology. Send the troops up as well. Their mythology is the key. We will return to the house that we left in 1948. A lot of these houses don't exist anymore, and if time's gone on. Unless the Palestinians recognize a two-state solution with the Palestinian refugee problem being solved within within Palestine, and not Israel, there can't be peace. When you look at this map, by the way, Palestinians and Israelis see two different maps. The Palestinian would say this is the whole of Palestine. No, there wasn't an independent state of Palestine in itself. All right, the British controlled it originally. Turks before. They would say, look, the West Bank is 23%. The West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem is 23% of historic Palestine that didn't exist. And in their eyes did. So when the most moderate of the moderate, the most vegetarian of the tree-hugging Palestinian comes to negotiate with you and says, all right, let's talk about two-state solution. Their idea is that we've already compromised, because by recognizing a two-state solution, they're saying we accept 23% of historic Palestine, which wasn't independent, but that's okay. Israelis come and say, all right, well, let's talk about maybe moving the borders slightly, 3%, 4%. Palestinians say, no, we've made the compromise. Hamas turns around and says, we don't need to compromise because this is one Islamic country. They're a threat to many of the moderates. Bottom line, Palestinians say tomorrow, who takes over? And that's the problem. Hamas doesn't want the state of Israel. And Fatah is not willing to recognize a two-state solution, which sees the refugee problem being solved within Palestine and not Israel. And is too weak. The more you encourage Fatah with arms, the more it becomes an American ally. The danger, by the way, of all of this is that they start to get disillusioned with the two-state solution and you become one-state solution type people. And you're hearing that more and more. We should just have one state and everyone should live together and that should be nice. Well, that may be very nice in Hamilton.
Nothing wrong with Hamilton.
Actually, there's a lot wrong with
My friend, there is.